bit. Hello everyone, John Weisner. I'm also on our global Blackbelt team. In case you're not familiar with that team is a relatively small group of people, a few hundred globally. We get handed from our senior leadership team strategic market expansion and compete initiatives. So for me, it's high performance compute and AI in media and entertainment. So I know we only have a brief period here, about 15 minutes or so. So we thought we'd complement some of what you had already heard today, just with some examples of what's going on in media and entertainment. Of course, there are a couple of branches of conversations, mostly led by our customers and new businesses and partners coming to us, either saying, we have this great idea, can you help us understand how to enable it? But a majority of those initial conversations of, we don't know what we don't know. We don't even know what we want to do. And there's just this monolithic thing that's hanging out there called AI, and we know we need to get engaged. We don't know necessarily how to start. So what we typically end up doing is really just spending time doing a little bit of a walkabout, trying to present illustrations and examples of some AI services, perhaps a mix of ML, of where those things are starting to get played with, explored, integrated in the media and entertainment space. For us, the two branches in M&E are somewhat similar to what Stephanie had mentioned. There's a lot of back-end workflow processing, a lot of predictive analytics work that we've done in the past, perhaps now that can be driven by AI. But we also are spending a lot of time on the visualization side of the house. So we thought we'd give some fun examples. Great, to the right. So we've been working with broadcasters and content creators for a really long time and dealing with the problem of things like metadata. I don't know how many of you work with metadata, but for us, metadata has just been a pain over the years. The types of metadata that we've had on media assets typically have been limited to a very kind of brief synopsis of, perhaps title, content, participants, maybe some data information, and so on. But one of the things we've really been trying to get to is the programmatic generation of metadata, high fidelity data, a level of insight into a media asset that we typically don't have today without very heavy and manual intervention, right? Someone there to essentially add those details. I have a demo if you'd like to see it after. I think maybe just for time purposes, I'll skip over. But Vision Studio is a cognitive-based service. It uses computer vision and vector-based searching on the back end. And essentially what it does is it will look programmatically at media, and it will identify objects and people, scenes, and actions that are happening within the video itself. There's a URL here that you can go visit. This is a live site, aka.ms/Vision Studio. And it has a wonderful demonstration in there, a few different scenes. One scene is a convenience store. There are different people walking around, a transaction happening, someone spills a coffee on the floor, etc. Actually, let me see if I can, let's see if we just escape out of this real quick. Seeing is always very nice. Okay, so.
Nope. It's spinning circles.
Spinning circles.
You lost your HDMI.
Okay, lost my HDMI.
You didn't make the offering to the demo god.
Okay, let's. We'll try this, and if not, we'll go switch right back to the slides.
Yeah. The slides are good.
Okay, you see the video? Yeah. Okay, so this is aka.ms/Vision Studio. So this is an asset. You can upload individual assets. You can try this out on your own, but you can also think about this at scale. Perhaps you have a news station and you have a ton of media, and the only metadata that you have on historical assets is very slim. You can run this through and you can do a couple of core things. First thing you can do is you can summarize what's happening in the video. So we're using computer vision to contextualize what's happening in the video and create a textual summary of what's in here. Programmatic generation of metadata. Then we can come in and based upon the summarization of the video, we actually have segments that we can jump to within the video. Women falling, milk on the floor, coffee on the floor. Do a search. Now we're getting to a place within the video where that action happened. Again, this is not manual generation of metadata. We're not doing cataloging and indexing. So think of this running at scale. So we can come in here, we have time code association with some of these events. You can go in and you can refine any of those results. This is not intended to be a full fidelity solution without some training. It's also not intended to be a solution that's 100% all the time. However, if you have a large mass amount of mass amount of media, and you don't know what's in it anymore, and or you have net new media coming in, and Jonathan spoke about data pipeline. We often deal with media pipeline. You think about all the media that's being generated every single day. How do we start to generate that? And so some of the tools that we're using are things like computer vision and vector-based search on the back end as one component of the broader architecture.
So John, from an app's perspective, I think about this problem as something that you could use this type of solution in a custom application where maybe you provide a set of eyeballs in a corner of your business that maybe you don't have it. So again, if you're a grocery retailer, how do you get clean up on aisle 3? You could potentially build a solution that uses this to help you capture the words. You get an alert through an application pipeline that says, hey, there's a spill, let's go check out the video. And again, because you have the video and you're capturing and you're indexing it, then you've got all of your risk processes around it should there be a lawsuit or something later. So there's a practical application of something that is a media solution that could be used in ordinary business.
There is a lot of security applications, so perhaps you're running a theme park, someone falls. That context within a frame of video can then kick off a series of actions, notifications, alerts, and so on. There's a lot of different applications. Would love to have a conversation. I love this stuff. I'm going to switch over to something else here that we have out of our Microsoft research in China. Anyone heard of NUA? So NUA Infinity had started with the idea of creating net new frames and long-running video, right? So we've all, I think, talked about text to image, and I think we've heard about text to video. What NUA is doing here is it's taking the last set of pixels on a frame that it knows, and is using AI to generate the next set of pixels, and then using that to generate the next set and the next set. This is long-running video that's essentially continuously being generated by AI. You give it a single frame, and you give it context of what's in that frame. It's going to use that context, the color tones, everything, to continue to generate along the way. And then, over here, you'll see there are a few different elements within the scene that you can say, incorporate these things along the way. So this is interesting research that's being done because it can assist in the content creation process. It can assist in the advertising or the publishing process. can support AR, VR, and MR-based experiences moving forward. So this is kind of interesting. We all know the Windows desktop, maybe? So if we were to click on here, this is taking the Windows desktop and inserting 5 keyframes. We're saying start here at the Windows desktop, but over here, I want this to be a lake. So as this scene is being generated, as it pans, you're going to slowly see elements within the environment here start to change towards a lake. And we'll just wait here for a moment, and you'll see it creep in. So it's using all this interpolation around the context of the image itself to start to assist with these tasks. And yeah, so you can go to this site, it's nua-infinity.microsoft.com, and play with it. These things are in a state for you to play with and start to brainstorm how you can incorporate it. Let's see here. We're going to go back, and I'm just going to show a few other things here. Okay. There we go. So you may be familiar or not, we're working on with NVIDIA and other partners, things like audio to gesture and audio to face. Audio to gesture, I don't know about you, but I use my hands a lot when I talk. It's a problem. But there's a lot of science and research around what are the types of hand movements that people use when they talk about certain things, when they're feeling certain things. And so audio to gesture is taking speech, the tone in the speech, the context of the speech, and it's then mapping it to hand gestures. So if you create a character, an animated character perhaps, those animated characters have rigging on them. The rigging, think of a puppet, right? The rigging of the hands, of the legs, of the face, etc. So artists, it takes a really long time to do some of this. And so using speech, you can now drive the rigging of nonverbals, right? Of the skeletons of those characters. Also drive some of the speech and facial patterns. Real-time ML clothing, I think you saw there. Digital Domain and many other studios have been working on being able to apply a variety of different digital assets, digital clothes, to a character. How can you help support and accelerate that process and provide these as additional tools to the artist for them to continue to work on their craft and accelerate some of the content creation along the way. Omniverse, you guys may have heard of from NVIDIA as a platform. We're doing a lot of work with Omniverse in terms of scene creation. Anyone here working with Omniverse as a platform? Or no? I'll show just a couple other things here. There's a lot of work being done on the digital human side of the house. Real photorealistic versions of ourselves. This isn't just in the content creation process and entertainment. I had a conversation with a retail customer, a global makeup company, and I looked across the screen and I said, "You look familiar." They said, "You look familiar." And they had just come from a very large animation company here in Burbank. They were working at a global cosmetics company creating digital humans to allow customers to create a digital human version of themselves so that they can try makeup on in the virtual world. On the back end of all the visual effects and rendering that we do is a process of denoising frames. It takes a long time for artists to review these frames and to denoise them. I have friends who are artists. They do not like the process, and it takes a long time. Last week. I was in Italy at the View conference and was on a panel session with Pixar and AMD. Pixar had just released a new version of RenderMan, and in it is an AI-based component. It's a denoising engine, right? That denoising engine now is part of the pipeline and in line, so to speak, so that it can use AI to determine probability of noisy frames and begin to denoise those on the fly, saving a lot of time for the artists and freeing them up to go do a lot more of the work that they want to do. They also happen to be a pretty expensive resource. These two at the bottom, the same thing, just an example. These are more related to speech. Anyone see Top Gun Maverick? Yeah, I just watched it on the plane home. I don't know why I keep watching it over and over again. So Val Kilmer, you guys may know, has been ill, lost his voice. And as part of being in Top Gun Maverick, his character, they actually infused as part of his character him being ill and not being able to speak. So Sonantic had gone back and used Val's previous performances to process his speech pattern. What you hear in Top Gun Maverick, where Val Kilmer speaks, is actually AI that had been driven by the analysis of his own voice in previous things. Do we have audio through here? We do? Let me see if I can play it.
Feeling very daring today, aren't you?
I'm feeling very daring.
This is daring for a Microsoft employee. It's like, ooh, I'm going to do a demo and I'm not sure my sound's going to work. And while he's setting that up, I think the other key message is really, as we think about the ethics of AI, what are we looking to do here as a world? We're not looking to replace humans. We're looking to remove some of the busy work off of their plates that get back to focusing on the things that get them excited, that they're passionate about. So you should never think about AI as removing humans, just improving what humans can do. And I swear we didn't set up that sappy music to go with that message.
That was pretty good, wasn't it?
That was pretty good, John. You could be a commercial producer.
Okay. Well, you don't have to see it, you just have to hear it.